Before I get into the nitty-gritty of the game, let me just start from a theatrical standpoint to say that was absolute cinema. That was one of the best games I've ever seen. It had the storylines, it had the rivalry, it had the personality, it had the results, it had the close factor, it had everything you could ask for in a football game. That game was it. And folks, dare I say it? I'll say it. It just means more. It just means more. Look, in terms of the game itself, y'all know that I predicted Georgia. I was wrong. I admit it. In this business, you have to admit when you're wrong, and you will take it when you're right. And I was wrong about this Georgia-Alabama game. 2 claps next play. We'll reset, and we'll respond. But my reason for why I predicted Georgia was the matchup to watch. The matchup that would decide the entire game was Bama's receivers, primarily the big play option of Bama's receivers, Ryan Williams, and Georgia's defensive backs. Is Bama going to get explosives? That was what I thought would decide the game. And guess what? They did. Bama got everything they wanted downfield. Ryan Williams, yes, you know he's 17. Everyone's mentioned it. But I'll say it again. He's 17 years old. Torching Georgia defensive backs. 6 catches, 180 yards. 29 yards per catch. 29. Jalen Milroe. Potential Heisman moment. We'll get to that later. 27 of 33. 82% completion percentage. You know how hard it is to complete 82% of your passes against Georgia? I can't even remember the last time something like that has happened. 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 yards per pass attempt. Bama won the matchup of the game, and because of it, guess what, folks? They won the game. Plain and simple. And if you thought that Alabama with Kalen DeBoer was going south, they're not. They're here to stay. And I remember in the preseason I said this, and I got a lot of crap for it. Michigan losing Harbaugh was more detrimental to Michigan than Alabama losing Nick Saban. My reasoning for that, not because Harbaugh's a better coach than Saban, and I got a lot of crap for that, but that's because the home run hire that Alabama made with Kalen DeBoer could not possibly be overstated. It couldn't. It went underrated. And all anyone could ever talk about was Bama losing Julian Sayin and Caleb Downs. And look at all that they lost in the portal, and they have all of these new pieces. There's no way they're possibly going to gel. Doesn't matter. Washington was ranked 23rd in the 247 talent composite, meaning they had a team compressed of about 3 and some 4 stars, a rare 5. And Kalen DeBoer took them to the national championship game. You don't think he can take this talent with Alabama to the national championship game? If you don't think so, then I have to say that's just pretty foolish. That is just pretty foolish because he totally can. And he proved it. That Alabama with Kalen DeBoer is not going anywhere. And let me tell you another storyline coming in that I sort of overlooked, I will admit. Bama's perimeter run game, man. Anytime Jalen Milroe got outside, it was bam. Touchdown. And that speed that Jalen Milroe has is an MFing problem. It is a problem because Georgia could not contain him to the inside. He would beat the linebacker to the outside, and, well, especially when you're a defensive back, you're taught to force him inside. Don't let him get to the boundary. Don't. And guess what? Jalen Milroe got to the boundary, football 101, and Georgia could do nothing about it. His speed was a problem. Georgia couldn't contain it. Another underrated part, Bama's intermediate passing game. One thing that I was questioning coming into the season, because last year it was great run, big play, boom, shot down the field. And when they played Michigan, when they were having trouble getting that explosive play going, well, they had to rely on it. And all of a sudden, they couldn't convert, and they lost the game to Michigan because of it. Well, Jeremy Bernard, 5 catches for 25 yards. C.J. Dipre, 4 for 38. Those don't wow you on the box score, but trust me, to implementing balance of getting teams to play in and free up that explosive play because of how well Bama was able to run the ball. And because they were able to get Jeremy Bernard and C.J. Dipre going on 3rd and short or 2nd and 7, that explosive play was free. And Ryan Williams had those possibly a 1-on-1, 1-on-2 mostly, to the outside. That freed it up for them. That's why Bama won the game.